Ooh, this is exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
Action. Wow, welcome everybody to the first filmed episode of the On the Mark UnEDiTed Podcast with me, Miss Nita Marquez, your host, and Mr.
Giovanni LaRue.
The other host.
Oh, yeah.
That is, this is my partner in crime. Basically my ride or die. I do not have an exclusive relationship. I'm not trying to get married ever again, probably, unless it's like to 3 people. And yeah, I mean, I guess I just got to summarize on camera, like what.
I think we'll let them see our flow and our dynamic and the way that we move. You guys will get the point. You'll get the gist.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool getting to do this with somebody I'm so close with.
No, for sure, definitely. It's I'm glad that we're finally going visual with it now. They get to see what we're talking about, really, for sure.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Let's get it.
I'm super giddy. Okay, so welcome to the On the Mark UnEDiTed Podcast, where we are taking you on an unedited journey to living your life on the mark. And what does that mean? What do you think it means, Gio? Tell them.
It's just living with the most purest truth that you can have and aiming your targets at the best life that you could possibly make and deliver, and within integrity and authenticity.
Well, and not only that, but it's about being who you're meant to be when you get to where you're going. Because if you get to where you're going and you're not who you're meant to be when you get to where you're going, it doesn't really fucking matter that you got there. Hello.
It really doesn't.
So, yeah, I guess I'll introduce today's topic, using your linguistic awareness. What do you think that means?
For me, I think it means being careful what you say and how you say it, because what you say, you manifest into reality. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I chose this topic. It's a practice that I've been putting even more consciously to work as of late. I'm really adamant with people when I have conversations, especially people like if I'm dating somebody or my children, my family, anybody that I'm very close with, that I really, their language impacts me. It's super important to me to constantly be conversing with a sense of conscious, constructive conversation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, no, perfect. I think it's a thing of being aware of understanding like how you're speaking and what you're bringing out, especially the people that you're around, because of the fact that many people don't realize the conversations that they have can be held and withheld easily. And you need to be, for me, I've learned to be very selective with the conversations that I have with the people that I'm around. Because there are people who tend to like live in misery and they tend to speak that out into existence, and there's people who speak nothing but good in light, and thank God you're one of the people that do that.
Yay. Well, is it that you choose to be selective around the people that you're around, or you choose to be selective about the people that you're around, so that the people that you're around, you're selecting are conscious people?
I would say both, because you can't always control the environment with the people coming in and out.
Valid point.
But I do tend to keep my circle that I can control in my environment very selective in who I allow around me. Just because of those, a lot of people like to say those things about energy and,
blending energy, you are.
Miserable motherfuckers will be miserable motherfuckers if you allow them to be around you. And then people who tend to uplift you are sometimes the people who surprise you the most. You can never realize where those conversations come from. So it is very to understand what you're putting out there to receive it.
Yeah, and so to bring it all full circle, it's really my antics over the years, if you will, have always been on the basis of you are what you eat, you are what you speak, and you are what you speak and eat based on what you think.
You are what you think. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that for sure. I think that's a very strong and valid point. And I think you're somebody who always speaks very good things about the universe and what we're doing. And even the worst in people, you can see the worst in somebody and really understand where they're coming from and turn that into a good quality, which is something I've learned. No, seriously, it's not to stroke ego, etc. It's really something that you do hold. And I think it's something that within this podcast, a lot of people will be able to now physically see. Not only visually, but physically see it in the light. For sure.
Thank you. Well, the first point that I want to make to the point of you are what you eat, speak, and think is use of the word can't.
I hate that word.
I don't even use the word hate. Two things. My mother was what she was. My mother was what she was. As we all know, I've talked about this very openly. She had a drug addiction. She was a crack and heroin addict, and for the better part of my childhood. And with my mom, I will say she had two really big rules. She dropped F-bombs all day. She was really mean a lot of times, and she was like, you know, she was back in those days, like you could whoop your kids' asses and borderline abuse them and maybe abuse them, and it wasn't considered abuse.
The good old days.
I got a lot of those. But one thing, you know, she put the fucking fear of God into me. So, but one thing I will say with her is that she did not allow me or my sister to use the words stupid, hate, or can't. And it was weird because she was so adamant and so intense and so angry about it. It settled into me to where there was like a fear attached to using those words. Yeah. So even though as I got older and started, you know, I was on my own at 13, I was doing my own thing, she definitely drove that into me to the point where I never forgot it, even though I didn't necessarily practice what she taught me for some years. And as I got older, I started to realize I actually don't like those words either.
It sticks with you. It's a processing of like your brain processed that from a long time, whether it be because she got very upset. But isn't it amazing? Like throughout, even if there is a substance abuse, there is still an underlying of that person.
There's humanity. There's So the word can't, I specifically want to talk about that word.
Yeah.
The word can't. When my kids were little, if they used the word can't, I made them do 10 push-ups.
Jeez.
And then...
That's why they're all solid.
They're pretty solid. But it's something that was really important to me to instill in them because I never knew how to say that I can't because of the fear that my mother put in me about the words can't, hate, and stupid. I will seldom use the words hate or stupid, and when I do, I'm very conscientious about the usage of the words. I don't just throw them in there and be like, oh, I hate when this happens. I hate when that. Yeah. It's very seldom that I'll slip and that will happen.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it, and I've definitely watched you immediately. As soon as you get to say it, you're like, "Well, I don't hate it." Like you would immediately take it back because it's kind of like you caught it. It's like, "Oh, no, you almost got away from there. Me bad negative energy. Let me put you back away."
Yeah.
But it's really cool because that's kind of the same understanding with like my mom. She put into me because I don't really curse in front of my mother. I know people do, and it's not a big deal as you get older. But even today, if I'm around her and I curse word,
it feels weird, right?
It feels weird. Not only does it feel weird, she instilled this thing in me that even if I curse around her, I'll still kind of flinch. I'll still kind of like, oh, my bad. And she won't even be doing anything. But it's just been so instilled in me in such a young age. And another thing that she did with me is like, as much as the negative words and the negative things that, you know, could be said that she told me not to say and, you know, not to move that way, she also showed me a lot of confidence just because she would always preach to me the power of saying good things, the power of moving in a direction where it's like, hey, you know, we don't have much. We're not the richest people in the world, but you know, you're Dominican, you're not Dominican. So it's always funny. It's always funny. I like that one. But
I love that one.
I am Puerto Rican and Dominican, so it's a wordplay on that one. But
it
really is something that she's always pushed that into me. And I realized how important that is as I got older. And just seeing the group, especially moving here into Los Angeles, seeing the people that I was around and to see the people who were thinking in such a negative space, it kind of felt like when you walked into the room with those people, the room got heavier. Right. The gravity picked up a little bit, and it was kind of, you didn't want to be in that room for too long. It just didn't sit well with you.
Right.
And versus when you step into a room with someone like Nita, for example, someone like you, it is something that you feel, it feels light. You feel like you're in a room where the weights of the world have gotten a little lighter. Or when you walk into a room, Stop.
Oh my God.
But seriously.
You're going to make me cry on our first episode.
That's the point. Let's do this. We're going straight to the core. But seriously, it is something that, like, when you do surround yourself with such positive people, and I can't speak about that just on my own, I'm sure our viewers now and our listeners could attest to that, where it's, you know, when you're in a room with somebody who's benefits you in a way where even if they just listen to you or they speak good things or they believe in themselves so strongly, it motivates you. And that's the importance of having, like, to understand that linguistics that you have with just the people that you are around.
Yeah, how they carry themselves. So with the word can't, obviously it's not a word that I employ in my vocabulary, and I did not allow my children to, and nor did your mother, which I think is dope because you're Dominican, not Dominican. But I feel like that's a word that people say often, and they're just not conscious of it. What I think is bizarre is, like, when I'm like, because, you know, I just started dating a few months ago, 5 years of a basic. It was not a drought.
Sahara.
It was intentional.
Sahara.
But stop. But I just started getting back out there like a few months ago, and that's something that I'm really I hear that. If somebody's using the word, oh, I can't do this, or I'm automatically like, they're just, yeah, they didn't even make it into the front door, but they're already in the doghouse. Like, I'm just like, I'm good. I'm chilling. I mean, we can part as friends, but we definitely gonna part. Go into my phone later that night, go to the contact, block.
Control, Alt, delete.
Exactly. It's just not, it's not even worth a conversation to me. It's like, if that's where your consciousness is at, I'm cool. I mean, I'm not knocking it. That's just where that person's at. I've been in different places with my consciousness where it's like, probably shouldn't have had certain people shouldn't have been fucking with me at certain times in my life because I just wasn't. There was some loose stuff going on up there, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
But that's good.
Pre-anger management. But honestly, I think that's a big turnoff, and it's also a turnoff I'm finding now, like whether it's new incoming associations through work or social circles. I'm definitely adherent to my spirit or my mentality when it comes to the language that somebody employs. And my spirit, my mentality responds immediately by yes or get away. And so it's something that the word can't. That's just something when people employ that word a lot, and those are excuse makers. Those are not will makers.
It inhibits you. It stops you from moving. It's one of those situations where you beat yourself down. And a lot of people don't realize how much self-harm that we do to ourselves with our own brain when we talk and then we think to ourselves. Because believe it or not, I don't care who you are, where you come from, we speak to ourselves. We have questions and we answer them right away. And sometimes it's not us, it's ego.
Yeah, and or it's our higher self,
etc. Ego, God, higher self, you, wherever you want to come from and call it. But it is a situation where we do things to ourselves that we're not even realizing every day because we don't even take the time to watch what we say.
Yeah, no, totally agreed.
And if we can't watch what we say, like out to the world, it really comes down. What are we doing to our brain?
Yeah,
what are we doing on our brains?
Yes. Oh my God. So with the word can't, obviously, I'm not down with that term. I'm not saying that everybody should be all like, oh, I'm thinking positive, I can do anything. Rather than use the word can't, there are times where I'm just like, I see that this is going to be a challenge, and that's okay. Where are some solutions? Where are some possibilities? Because that's where my mind is going in terms of the word can't. It's the mind is actually, anybody's mind is actually going towards the space of what's possible. And so if you're thinking about what's possible, it's kind of like when there's a problem. If you just keep talking about the problem, but you're not opening your mind to the solutions, then the only thing that's fucking possible is the problem. And that's your fault. That is totally 100% you standing in the way of the solution because you're not even willing to be open to it, let alone create or be receptive to a solution. It's just, it's your consciousness. And so that being said, I feel very adamant about the idea that people say, oh, you're so positive. And I'm really weird about that. Like when people say I'm positive, I'm like, oh, it's so cliche. I just do my best like everybody else. That's what I always say. the phrase positive thinking has gotten so played out. It's so cliche.
Yeah.
It's so
one-sided.
like, yeah, very one-sided, very like, oh yeah, my name's Chip and I'm running down the road because I feel very healthy today. It's like
that Chip's voice. Oh, I'm Chip.
Yeah, something
That's
like
like
that.
a chipper voice.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
No, I understand.
it's just, I mean, really, like, is that that's what we do in this country though? We're like, oh yeah, it's positive, and then it just seems cheesy to me.
Yeah, we forget. I say we. I don't, because we're all human.
We're all human.
We tend to forget that there's a duality. No matter what, if there's a positive thinker, there's negative around the corner. No matter what, we have the ability to do both. We have the ability to create and destroy. And we have the ability to love, and we have the ability to not love, since we don't like using the word hate.
Well, but here it would be a clarification.
Yeah, it would be a clarification. We have the ability to love and to hate, but it's about choosing.
Right.
It's about every day you have a choice to think or say what you want to happen to you in this world. You want good things. Trust me, if you start saying good things, it starts to come to you. Imagine if every day you walked down the hall and it was like, hey guy, fuck you, your pants look shit. Haha, you smell like ass. What do you think you're gonna get back? There's gonna be, and where I'm from, in Jersey City, New Jersey, like if you cracked on somebody, that you were immediately getting cracked back on because that's what you invited.
Right.
Versus, hey, you look really pretty today. Well, that's a nice sweater, dope shoes. And now what returns back to you is a compliment.
Be authentic when you do it, right?
Obviously. Do it in a way where every day you have a choice. If you really feel a certain way about something, and this is only if you feel these ways about these things. If you really feel these certain ways about these things, take the chance to be proactive. Think about it before you say something. Don't be reactive. And understand what is the implications of what you're saying. Because understanding what you say is understanding what you will do. And
you just said something that leads me into my third point.
Ooh-wee.
The first point is the word can't and how it's super used ridiculously and it shuts off possibilities. The second point was it's not about positive thinking, it's about conscious thinking. It's not about being positive, it's about just making a conscious effort to create with your language. You're cultivating with your language. Are you, as you said, destroying, or are you
building?
So choose your words according to your agenda. And if you're constantly, oh, I can't this, and damn, I hate when this, and oh, it's never going to happen. Like, okay, well, you just dictated the future. Good for you. Bravo. Life fucking sucks. You put that on your radar, and that's all that your radar is going to draw towards. So the third point, which you said about don't use this, and this, don't react, be proactive. Actually, the latter part of that, be proactive. Focus on building. Focus on cultivating something that's going to be empowering, something that's going to be impactful, versus saying, don't be negative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been putting into practice to the point of this is when I'm speaking, I really catch myself when I used to say hate, stupid, and can't. I'm always going to find ways to retract that if it starts to come out of my mouth, and I'm going to retract it based on wanting to cultivate from a really creative consciousness, right? So I will usually retract those. Well, I've been doing it with the word don't lately, and people are like, well, yeah, because when you say you don't do this or don't do that, you're emphasizing the thought of that. So one of the things that I really notice is, for myself, I'm obviously very vocal. When I would be voicing what I'd like to create, tell me why it's so funny that even me, everybody does this though. Why is it that I would say, well, I don't want to be this and da-da-da-da and this way and this way. You know what I mean?
But you're being that person. I love when people say that.
I just want to be this, and this. And it's like, why do we have to enter into the I just want to be and what I'm really wished for and what I really focused on? Why do we have to enter into it? Even if we say it, we still enter into it most of the time with, I don't want to be this.
People don't want to be braggadocious. They don't want to. They don't want to show that, and they're scared of it.
Yes,
they're scared of being the best of themselves, the best selves, their best selves. They're scared of being their best selves.
Yes,
and it's wild to me because that isn't the same thing that you practice with. That is one thing I practice is with the word try. When I hear people
trying is lying.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, that was a good one. But it's true. Trying is lying, and the word "but" as well. Those are the two words that I really hate the most because nothing that comes after the word "but" is good. It automatically contradicts the first thing that you said.
Well, nothing that comes out of him but is good either.
So, that is
there
true.
We go.
That is true. And then also with the word try, it's like I love, especially when people come around me and they go, oh yeah, man, I'm trying to do this. And it's like,
right.
Well, have you done this? And they're like, yeah, I'm doing that. So then you're doing it.
Okay.
You're not trying
exactly.
it. You're doing it. Give yourself a little bit more credit.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
And that's one thing that we're not aware. That's the thing in our brain. That's that awareness that we're not realizing. That what we're saying to ourselves every day. It's
so trippy to hear you saying this, because I remember when I was a little girl, the book, I was a teenager, the book, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. You've heard of that, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it for sure.
I remember I read that book, and I remember learning about language and how, just wake up every day and tell yourself it's going to be a great day. That was like one of the things. And I remember for years banging my head against a wall, figuratively speaking, of course, doing exactly that, just saying certain things. And this is something that when you said this, it just really struck a chord, because what you were saying reminded me of how so many people are like, oh, it's going to be great, and da-da-da, but their lives are really shitty still. Mm-hmm. And there were even times where mine, even as optimistic as I came off and was making an ardent effort to be, my life was still very, not just challenging, but actually excruciating at times. Just to a point where I was very dismal within myself. And it's like, how could I practice this verbiage over and over again, but I still have shit happening in this way? There's 2 points to that. One, you're never going to be perfect. There's always going to be challenges, because where there's challenges, that's the invitation for victory. And it's the invitation of your spirit calling you to action. That's all it is. That's what a challenge is. It's calling you to your greatness. At the same time, if you're drowning in your challenges and every day is miserable, and you're working really hard with your language to not be the kind of person who you're being in that moment, it really comes back to what I said earlier about you are what you eat and you are what you speak based on what you think. So if your results are a certain way, there's something in your consciousness still, even though you might be speaking positively. Are you speaking consciously?
Do you believe what you're saying?
Are you coming from a very clear foundation? Have you cleaned up your demons, stood those suckers down, and kicked them out the back door? At least put them on a leash.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Acknowledge them.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that you hear me constantly say without the podcast that, we've talked about. It's always about acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. It's about accepting it as well, knowing it, because that's the only way that you can change it, is if you actually figure out what it is, or you put your hands on it and you're able to move it. And that's figuratively speaking when it comes to the mind, but it's really about accepting the things that the things that you are now, so that you can fix who you want to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it takes that time, and it hurts. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world. Sometimes it is things that we have to face alone.
Right. And
one of the worst things that people feel is they don't want to be alone.
Yeah. I think that is a scary thing for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I think that's where things have tied into a stronger platform for me within myself, is that solitude that I spent. By the time I was 40, I looked back on my life, and no matter how much I had done in my life by myself, because I had been on my own so young, I was always kind of like hopping around from home to home, and there was a lot of lacking stability. But, in my young adult life, as I started dating, I found that maybe I wouldn't call somebody my man or somebody's my man, but I always had somebody. There was always a revolving door of activity. Like a little electron. I'm not going to, it's whether it's the maintenance man, as we call our man that we have on the side or undercover, there was just always somebody there. Even if it was on the down low, there was always somebody there. So I never really learned how to behave in life towards myself without the need for another party to be there for me to either fix them or get validation from them or get validation from the process of fixing them or be angry with them when they didn't live up to my expectations. It's really a trip to me to know that I didn't spend all that time alone. So when I turned 40 and decided to admit myself into treatment for anger management and really just stand these demons down, I mean, it was frightening, it was scary, it was physically challenging, and it was awful. But I spent the last 5 years alone for the simple fact that at 45 now, I can sit here with peace of mind. I'm so like, oh God, I feel so much better. Yeah. I'm actually living now. I think before I was racing to survive.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing to hear that be said, because me at 25 now, I just turned 25, and I'm realizing from learning from a lot of people. I'm someone that I don't have to necessarily touch the fire to realize it's hot.
Right.
Somebody that can learn. I'm a sponge, and I can see it from everywhere and anytime. And I'm realizing that more and more, and I've been more willing to face my demons. I've been more willing to go head first into that dark alley. And I usually say this thing. I say this all the time. It's like I tell the universe I want all the smoke, and it's in millennial terms, it means I want everything. Give it all to me now, and I'll be able to, and I'll handle it. Whether I can handle it now, I'll become the man that can handle it soon.
Yeah.
So
no, I know that about you.
No,
I know that
sure,
about you.
For sure. So it's very positive, and it's very insightful to hear that coming from somebody who's lived, through these years and knowing these things, because it is something that we take for granted sometimes. The people that
just
are
say
around
it. Somebody that's older.
someone who's more aged, fine wine aged.
Anyways, I think that wraps our episode. I think we made our points pretty clear. I would summarize it to say that it's just in life, it's really just about being extremely conscious of what you're even creating. Yeah. I mean, for me, I knew from the time that I was a little girl, when the first time I saw my mom high when I was 13, I knew in that moment that my life was going to be something where I had a mission that I was supposed to touch other lives in an empowering fashion, based on what was breaking me down in that moment, because I was meant to live through it and I was meant to conquer it so that I could share that experience and that strength with other people. I don't know how I knew that at 13, but I just did. And I remember praying that prayer, just saying, God, please make me able to use this to help other people. I just knew that. And that's what I've persistently worked so hard in my life to provide myself as a vehicle to whatever source that's going to help me shine my light. Yeah.
And anything that I could do to reflect that light on others would be something that I'm there for. That's something that I've realized. I've been someone who's been able to help with a lot of people who have very bright lights. And I've had the pleasure of being around them. And I've had the pleasure of being able to cast that, that reflection or that shadow if necessary.
I'm going to give this to you too, Jio. If you're using the words don't, can't, hate, or stupid, ask yourself if you're using them in a way that's cultivating exactly the points and beingness in life and strength and empowerment that you're looking to cultivate. If it's not lending to the blessing, then it's part of the bullshit.
I believe it.
Yeah. So that all being said, yeah.
Watch what the fuck you say. Watch what the fuck you say, because it's there.
That is it for the On the Mark UnEDiTed Podcast, the visual episode premiere for season 2. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening, whatever you were doing. Thank you for connecting with us. We take that energy, receive it. We love you, love you, love you.
Yeah, we do.
I love you. And we will see you
next episode.